Hi guys, it's Nina from VR Focus. I'm joined by
Dezern, and I'm the CCO at Insomniac Games.
So tell me about your previous VR games and what you're showcasing here at OC5.
So we've actually made 3 VR games up to this point, and those are Edge of Nowhere, which was a third-person Lovecraftian horror title. We made Feral Rights, which was another third-person game that was all about turning into savage beasts and a lot of progression and collection in a very hostile, like, forbidden island. Then our third VR game was The Unspoken, which was all about casting spells with your bare hands in a sort of urban magic fight club. And this year at OC5, we're showing Stormlands, our latest VR game, which is all about experiencing the freedom of open world exploration in VR.
So these are all very different types of games, and I suppose that you've taken a lot of your past learnings from your previous VR games and put them into this. What have you learned, and why did you decide to use that specific mechanic?
It's been a process of us learning about what works well with movement mechanics in VR and building each game to include a little bit more of that. So we started out with third-person games, which was a really nice segue from our console game experience. We ended up with The Unspoken, which was a lot of touch-enabled hand movement, but it used a teleportation mechanic, so we weren't really as focused on movement for that title. But then finally, we're working with an open world structure for Stormlands, which is something that we've built up some skills with our console experience. Plus this host of movement mechanics for not just walking, but also things like climbing and gliding and flying above the slipstream of the thunderclouds.
This was an incredibly beautiful world. What were you inspired by? What made you think, let's create this open world?
Everything for us in Stormlands is about creating a pervasive sense of wonder. So we make this world that just begs to be discovered. There's something beautiful to find, like over top of every rock that you can climb. You can climb to the top of any cliff that you can see and get a great reward for doing it. It's a world that we're building to draw players in so they can experience more and more of it as they play.
So what's the story? Who are you? What is your objective? If it is an open world, is there a final objective or something that you have to achieve?
Yeah, so you play as an android gardener, and you're the caretaker of a lush alien planet. And you're living happily when an agency called the Tempest, this malevolent force, uproots your habitat, shatters your android body, and you've got a journey to this mysterious civilization above the Thunderheads to repair your own android body and also save your friends. And the thing about Stormlands is that the world changes over time. So you jump in 1 week and you get one layout. You can jump in the next week and there's an all new layout with these playgrounds of movement and combat and loot for you to discover. And on top of all of that, you can play that with your friends. You can jump in for synchronous co-op, or you can also play with the full community. There's an asynchronous game where you work with the community to earn new powers, to earn brand new items, like as a group that benefits everybody.
So it sounds like you're trying to create a community, a multiplayer experience. So can you play it by yourself?
You can absolutely play by yourself. Solo plays there, and if you want to follow the story and not engage with other players, that's all there for you, and it's completely valid. If you do want to pull in other players and play with the community, that's all there too. Think about like a Dark Souls, where you can play single player, but you also see imprints of other players. That's the type of experience you can have in Stormlands, if that's what interests you.
And your friends, are they androids or are they?
Yeah, you see your android friends, and they have likely upgraded themselves in different ways and made themselves look different than you. But you see their tracked head and hand. So if you and I are together in the game, we're waving at each other like we've got our own mannerisms, and you can really tell who you're looking at and who's talking. Yeah.
So when it comes to playing online, does it mean that we're able to talk to each other, or is it like android movements?
No, you can talk to each other. Yeah, you can wave, you can game plan together, decide how you want to take on a combat setup. You can hand each other weapons, kind of share your loot. It's really anything that you think ought to be able to work will work in the co-op experience.
Bringing new content and new experiences, new powers every other week, that sounds like very intensive from a developer point of view. How come you guys chose to do that? Is there an objective? Is it a way to keep things fresh and bring the community back together?
We wanted to make a game that kind of compelled players to check it out to see what they can discover every single week. It's something we've all wanted to play in VR, a game that's got a really long tail that brings you back. And it's even got an analog in like serial television a little bit, where you watch an episode of your favorite show and you might not know what happens until the next week. We're building a story that plays out in discrete threads. So you get a good intro to the world, you learn what it's all about, but there are mysteries that don't pay off right away. You've got to stick with the game over time to see what happens and see where everything is headed. That includes things like the true nature of the Tempest, the true nature of the world itself. You pick up lore that teaches you a little bit more about these things every single week.
It sounds like you can be drawn in for hours and hours and hours of gameplay, which is what I think you're trying to do.
That's the idea, yeah. We want to make it have legs, so you feel like you can spend a lot of time with it and get this great, substantial experience that, you know, rewards your attention for a very long time.
Do you get to drive or like ride those giant dragon things?
That would be really cool. That's all I could say about that right now. But those giant, dragon things have a lot of significance to the world.
Ooh, I got a little secret there. Do we have any price points or release dates for this game?
We're not announcing that just yet. We are saying 2019. That's as far as we're taking it so far.
Wow, that's really exciting. Is there a website where we can find out more? Are you guys teasing out something somewhere that we have to go look for?
Yeah, you can check out stormlandvr.com for all the latest, and that's where we post news as it happens as well.
Thank you so much for your time.
Of course, thank you.
Head over to vrfocus.com if you want to find out more about virtual reality, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.